fantastic show lined up for you today. I'm joined by Miriam from Connecticut, who is a wonderful person, and she is actually somebody I've met. Don and I went to Vernal, Utah. We met Miriam there and had a wonderful time chatting with her, and she's agreed to come here and share her stories. So buckle up. It's going to get good. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal Podcast. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you all for joining us, and special thank you goes out to all of you who continue to support the podcast and continue to spread the word. Always remember, if any of you out there have experiences of your own that you'd like to share, feel free to email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Again, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, and you too could be a guest on the show. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. So, and it's kind of my own canned opening, but I love to hear where things started for people because, you know, I find those very, very interesting. So for you, what was your first experience that you're like, wait, this is something's going on here?
Well, I was very young. I was probably like maybe 4 years old when weird stuff was happening.
Wow. So what happened?
Yep. So I remember sleeping at night. I remember we were like in our parents' room sleeping. It was the summertime, me and my sister. And all of a sudden we kept hearing like pounding on the walls and on the floors. For a while, my mom was thinking that it was me like acting up and like getting out of bed and doing stuff. And she was telling me, coming in the room saying, stop it. And like, I didn't do it. Yeah. And then eventually she's like, wait a minute, this is not my child doing this. This is something else. Because my sister wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing anything. Both of us were like, hey, like, we're not pounding. So it kept persisting for a while, like on the floors and on the walls. Wow. And it didn't matter how much my mom was praying, like on and off. My mom's a prayer warrior. She's also a pastor. She's a pastor now. And it happened like for a while, like almost a week or two. Eventually we tried to leave the house and move to like a motel temporarily. But the activity followed us. We heard same thing, pounding on the walls. And one night we were getting ready to like bathe, take a bath. My sister was in the bathtub first, and there was like a razor sitting on a ledge in the bathtub. And I remember like waiting for my turn to get in the bathtub, and the razor ended up falling by itself into the bathtub where my sister was, and she's all freaked out like, Mom. Oh yeah. And I'm freaked out like, yeah, that's
terrifying.
And it was.
Yeah. So it actually followed you guys even when you left. So that's really interesting. Did you get a sense that it was like evil, or did you get a sense that it was more mischievous, or what was your take on it?
Well, I was raised Christian, so anything like that, I was raised to believe that it wasn't good at all. It wasn't anything good.
Sure.
It was like messing with our lives, and I was afraid to sleep by myself for a while. Oh yeah. And yeah.
That's crazy.
I couldn't. Yeah. And eventually it did stop after lots of praying and.
Oh, okay.
By my parents.
So for how long a period of time would you say this went on?
I don't remember. It was like maybe a week or two. Oh. Because I was 4 years old. It felt like forever, a long time. Yeah. That's. When it finally stopped, it was more peaceful after that. Like for a while, like it took me a while to be able to sleep by myself, and I finally was able to.
Oh yeah. Now, was your sister older or younger than you?
My sister's like 6 years older than me.
Okay. So, and she seemed to be okay after that too, or?
Yeah. Okay. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff. So that's where it all began, this weird thing. And it just kind of came and went, just like a little small cycle of some supernatural stuff, and then it was over, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's crazy. Okay. So where do you go next then, until your next experience?
I'm about 8 years old and did this experience.
Okay.
I'm sleeping in bed and all of a sudden I feel something like tap me on the shoulder. And I'm thinking, okay, my sister's waking me up. And so I sat up in bed. I'm kind of half asleep. And I see this like dark figure going at the end of my bed from my closet, and then it disappears in front of the bed. And for a while I'm like thinking, okay, what is this? Is this a joke my sister's pulling? Or then my sister comes in and sees me like sitting up in bed, and she's like, what are you doing awake? Like, something touched me. Like I couldn't articulate I didn't tell her about the dark figure until the very next day, because I couldn't really put two and two together because I was half asleep and everything. And
right. Yeah.
So she said, oh, maybe it's an angel or something. She'd probably tried to say that to try to calm me down to go back to sleep. So the very next day I told her that it was a tall, dark figure at the end of my bed.
Wow.
And yeah, I had a hard time going to sleep after that. I didn't sleep. I slept with a nightlight until I was like 19 and slept underneath the covers. Head submerged underneath the covers and everything for a while, and like praying. I actually slept with a Bible one time too.
Oh, no.
Then it finally like settled down, like, okay, that thing's not going to bother me again.
Sure. Truth be told, I still sleep with some kind of light on, and I don't know if it's a night light or not, but it's just, I don't like opening my eyes and not being able to see what's going on around me. But that's crazy. Yeah. Now, is this the same house in both of these?
It's the same. Yep.
Okay.
I've been in the same house since I was like 3 or 4 years old.
Oh, okay.
We built the house when I was like it was like 3 or 4, and we moved in a little bit after that.
Wow. Okay.
After it was entirely built.
So you guys built it. It's not like it came with history.
No, I did not.
Right. Okay. Well, then go ahead. I'm sorry.
We lived like in a condo for a while, and then the house was built. I think the house is like 20 or 22 years old now.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. I gotcha.
Yep. So
was this just a one-off then, or was this the beginning of another cycle of activity?
Well, as an adult, I do remember the Bigfoot activity. I don't remember anything else weird that happened other than when I was 8 years old, that thing tapping me on the shoulder. The creepiest thing was that thing touching me.
Yeah, absolutely.
My parents had told me just pray to God, ask him for protection every night. So I did that ever since. Ever since I did that, I've not had issues.
Oh, good.
With something, yeah, thankfully.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Now, since you were so young, you probably didn't have any real preconception about spiritual activity. I mean, it just kind of fell in your lap, huh?
It kind of did, yeah. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's all the things you don't look for, and then, bow, they are. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and so it was those two major experiences when you were younger and when you were 8, and then with the Bigfoot thing. Now, I'm really interested to hear this as well, because I had an experience when I was about 14, and I didn't see what made the noise, and it wasn't until much later in life that I learned enough to go, hey, maybe that was Bigfoot, because I was being growled at by something absolutely enormous, and it was just terrifying for me. But with your situation, at what age did this happen for you with possibly a Bigfoot?
I was already an adult and that, but I was still with my parents.
Okay. So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what age are we talking about? Probably
like, how old was I? I think it was like 19 or 20 years old.
Okay.
By this time.
Okay. So yeah, walk us through what happened here. I
mean, growing up, I always felt like, okay, maybe something is watching me, and in the woods, but I've never really thought about it until I was like older, when me and my family were having this type of experience. I was outside. The first time I remember, I was outside at night, like a screen house with my dad. We had just gotten done eating. We had like a barbecue outside, and it was summertime. And we were like sitting out there just hanging out. And suddenly behind Dad, in the woods, we hear like a vocalization almost sounded human. Oh. But for a while we thought, okay, maybe a person is trespassing on our property and trying to be an idiot or something. So we were just started yelling at it, like, get out of here, get out of here. Oh. And then the howling stopped after that. And then Dad and I are like talking and like, what was that? Was that a coyote, or was that a person trying to scare us? But after we kind of like brushed it off for a while, and then Mom came out to kind of finish cleaning the grill and everything. And she mentioned she remembered that felt like something was watching her when she was like in the screen house, like waiting for the grill to cool off and everything. And yeah,
I tell you what, and I cover a lot of stories, and a lot of Bigfoot stories as well. And that is really something that it makes me marvel, because I really think that this is an ability that people truly have. Like some people say, oh, people are psychics, and I think that everybody has, knowing without knowing. But the one thing that people really do seem to be acutely aware of is when they're being watched. And it can be anyone, anywhere, that we somehow have that ability built into us. And maybe it's a throwback to when our ancestors were crawling out of caves and trying to figure out how to, create societies or whatever. And we were on the menu. But I mean, it's like we have that ability, like when we're being watched, that we know that. And it comes up all the time in these stories that people know when they're being watched. And not only in the supernatural, but if somebody's being stalked by a creepy person, you just feel the weight of their eyes, even though you're not looking. And I think that's a very real thing. So I think that's very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So you heard the howling and noise.
Yeah.
And then you felt the weight, and how did that progress then?
Well, later on, things were fine for a while, and then I think a few weeks after that is when Dad had his own encounter. He works third shift, but he used to all the time. He's retired now. Okay. He came out one night to go to his car to go to work, and then suddenly he heard some really two large footsteps, like in the backyard close to where he was, and that. My dad's not really scared of anything. He's been in the Navy. He's pretty much lived in the woods for a while with us, and that really freaked him out. He ran in the car and drove away really fast, and then he called us on his cell phone, and he's saying, like, don't go outside, don't go outside. There's a Bigfoot outside. Don't go outside. Oh. He was really freaked out.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty creepy. And ladies and gentlemen, to any of you out there listening, I mean, you have to understand, if you're not really well informed about the Bigfoot, these are creatures that I firmly believe are out there, but they are 8 to 10 feet tall, generally speaking, and they're just enormous. It would be like I guess most people can probably appreciate what the Incredible Hulk looks like. But it would be all, covered in hair instead. But just something that big and that imposing that could pound somebody into pudding in just seconds. And that is such an incredible, incredibly intimidating thing, And so to see one, or to be in close proximity to one, it's gotta be just the most humbling thing. You get people all the time going, I'm going to go out and look for Bigfoot. It's like, are you sure you want to find one? Are you really sure?
Yeah.
Because you might actually find one. And then what?
Well, luckily the house was not too far. So if we needed to, just jump back in the house.
case, it was like they found you, apparently. They found
Pretty
you guys.
much, yeah.
Was your house located really, like, was there a lot of neighbors, or was there a lot of property you had with woods and stuff?
We have an acre and a quarter, and it's not too far from a state forest, which,
sure.
According to the BFRO website, there has been some Bigfoot sightings in the state forest near us.
Oh, I can believe that. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Wow. So it seems that this creature, for some reason, I hate using the term creature because I think they're more than just an animal, but I don't know exactly what to say. I usually say being, but they do seem to take a real interest in us, in what we do. Like maybe we're their version of TV, you know?
I'm just wondering, like, maybe they watched me and my sister grow up and watched us play in the backyard. We were very active playing in the backyard, so I'm assuming, like, okay, like, why isn't there any activity in the backyard anymore? Why aren't they coming out to play since we grew up and became adults?
Right. No, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, they probably do. They probably become very, very attuned to a family in a given location and just like to watch and observe. But yeah, that's crazy. Does the activity still continue in some regards till this day, or
on and off at times? I think the last activity we had, like, a Bigfoot researcher come out, and I was talking with him for a while, and he and I both actually heard, like, a vocalization while we were talking. I dismissed it like maybe it was a dog, but he was like, "That's not a dog that I heard." So I believe that when we were talking, I think we were being watched, and we don't normally have people over, and I guess they were curious, like, okay, we see, like, my dad, they're used to seeing my dad going in and out of the house and doing stuff, and, like, okay, why is this new person here in the backyard on the property? So
right, yeah, they're checking out who's visiting. That's cool. So throughout the years of living there, then this was just kind of a part of your lives, yeah?
Yep.
Huh. Did you ever notice, did anybody ever see the figure in the window kind of thing, or like peeking in or anything like that?
Not yet.
Well, that's true. Could still.
I don't know if I want to or not.
Oh, yeah. I
actually had a dream like a few years ago of Bigfoot staring in our front window, and I remember diving underneath the kitchen table in my dream, and then that was the end of the dream.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's interesting though too, because, you know, there are those people that believe, and this even to the First Nations, you know, that there's a mind speak, that they somehow can speak without, you know, exchanging words, and that might be a hard concept for a lot of people to grab onto, but yeah. Even with our dogs and stuff, they know. I remember, and I've said this on my live show, but I like to watch. I used to like to watch Caesar, the dog whisperer guy who would take
Caesar Malone. Yeah.
Yes. He would take all these real hard case dogs and he would just work with them, and basically the big takeaway was always that, you know, the problem with these dogs isn't necessarily the dogs, but they are mirroring behavior that, and so the uncertainty or the uncomfortableness of the owner will be uncomfortable for the dog. So they are incredibly, I guess, empathic, because they just pick up on that, whatever the state the owner is in, the dog is in, or it's reflecting that state somehow. Yeah. And so this is our dogs, our cats, you know, these animals, without us saying a word or going, oh, you know, Spot, I'm really kind of worked up today. It's just been one of those days. But they can tell, they can feel it.
They can. Yep.
And so perhaps that's not such a big leap then when you think.
I got my cat. My cat rubbing against me right now.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think our pets, you know, even our pets are tuned into us. You know, there was, I mean, this show's not about me, but this is a great story. I had an emergency appendectomy years and years ago, and I was living on my own back then, and nobody, and I just had a cat, and he was a black cat named Solomon, and the cat was always aloof. It was just always aloof. But once I came home from the hospital, that cat didn't leave me. He stayed with me for days and days and days, just staying. The only thing he would do is get up and eat and use his litter pan and come back and just stay with me. And it was like, I didn't say anything, but he knew that I was injured. And so I think, and with, with other animals as well, I just think they're very tuned to us and they can do that. So I guess, mind speak really isn't that hard to believe if you consider that, animals connect to us on that level probably all the time, but maybe just don't have a vocabulary. Whereas Bigfoot, many of us believe that they are so much more intelligent. So maybe they can implant visions or images that we can perceive maybe in dreams. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. What do you think?
The weird part is at times whenever I've had like a Bigfoot dream, I would have, not too far from that, I would have an encounter, like a vocalization or something like that.
Wow. See?
Which would be weird. I don't know if maybe that was God's way of saying like, hey, you're about to have an encounter, maybe a warning.
Sure.
Like, watch out.
Right.
That's what I'm perceiving. Like maybe I'm being warned, like they're here, like be careful.
Right. Now let me ask you, Miriam, if you don't mind, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but what do you think, and this is kind of a Wes Gerber steal, but what do you think they are? What do you think these Bigfoot are?
It could be an animal, but it could be someone like an animal that might be more sensitive to things like like maybe demonic activity that's going on in the type of area, or it could be something more, I don't know, something like that.
Sure. No, that's a perfectly good answer. It's just the reason I ask is because some people, you hear all kinds of ideas that people have out there, like, oh, these are the offspring of the Nephilim. These are aliens from outer space. They are hominids. They're, some kind of relic humanoid, or hominid. And so there's all these ideas all the way down to just they're another primate. And so I'm always curious, when people have had experiences, and just like Wes, what do you think they are?
Yeah.
Because and there isn't any wrong answers either. Like Wes says, it's like, well, they are what they are, and we don't really know, but they're a part of our world, and they definitely seem to take an interest in us. So
I'm kind of on the fence about that when it comes to whether they're Nephilim or not. But I asked when I was at Phenomecon in 22, I think I had asked Jeff Meldrum what his opinion about that was, and he said there's no evidence of them being Nephilim. So I kind of believe more on his side, his take, than whether the being Nephilim.
No, I kind of do too, and you're absolutely right. I think I don't know what standard people are using to make a statement like that. It's like, how do you know they're Nephilim? Have they told you this, or did they show you their family tree? How do you get to the point where, well, that's weird, I don't know what it is, must be a Nephilim? And I'm not making fun of anybody. I think everybody's welcome to believe whatever they choose, but that is a pretty huge statement to make about the origin of something we know nothing about, So I find that very interesting.
I know they could be, it could be all about the Genesis 6, when the Nephilim had, went and, did whatever with the woman. They also did it with the animals, so they're assuming that Bigfoot came from that. Sure. That's a theory.
Yeah, and it's not an invalid one, but it is a pretty huge leap to make. But do you think, in your own opinion, that they have supernatural tendencies, or what is your feeling that they're just flesh and blood?
Well, it's kind of complicated because I've heard other people say that they disappear and then they reappear. Yeah, it's like they walk into a portal or something. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, me either. And that's a big curiosity to me too. I've never even seen one, and I'm okay with that. Not that if they were at a safe distance, I wouldn't mind. Yeah. But, I wouldn't want to come around the corner and there it is one. But it's very curious. So you had these Bigfoot encounters. Wow. That's quite a bit. Now, this is all centered around this one property though. That's what's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Huh.
Another situation was a little bit after Dad had his situation. Mom and I are like sitting watching TV, and then we keep hearing like something's walking around the house. And so we stop the TV, and we're both like, okay, what is that? What was that noise? And then we're listening for a while, and then we both kept hearing tapping on the front door. Like it was literally tapping the front door.
That's crazy. I was actually thinking about that at one point of asking you. A lot of people claim they hear like slapping on the sides of the house or some kind of interaction with the house. So you heard that tapping. Wow.
And actually, I saw eye shine under our deck too. Like I felt something was under our deck, and I saw eye shine. I backed up from the back door, like, oh no.
Oh no, is right.
I don't want to see it.
What?
But I saw kind of eye shine a little bit.
Oh my gosh, what color was the eye shine? Do you remember?
I think it was white.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, because I've heard of different colors as well. And there's the red. Some people claim that they actually have illuminating eyes or something, and the mechanics of that I can't even begin to comprehend. But the other people have seen gold, sometimes a greenish gold, and sometimes white. So, and I often wonder, is that some kind of different kind of Bigfoot? Like, you hear the claims that there's types of Bigfoot, and of course the patty type, the more baboon type, the more caveman.
Type 3, yep.
Yep. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are generally, there's some people that claim there's like up to 12 or something, amazingly complex, but but I often wondered if, is the eye shine then, could that be attributed to a quote unquote type? But, it's anybody's guess. It might be just the color of their eyes for all we know.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that a lot of people see a lot of red eyes, but
yes. Yeah.
I guess that type of eye color is more common, or I don't know, it's depending on the species.
Right. That's what, and it seems, and maybe I'm kind of speaking out of turn, but it seems like the ones from the South seem to have more commonly the red eyes, but it was in the North more, and this is my uneducated opinion. But in the North, they seem to be more golden or that kind of color. So that's very, very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing about the Bigfoot, and I say it a lot, but I think that they literally are anywhere and everywhere. I mean, there's just no place on North America and in many parts of the world that these creatures or these beings can be found. I mean, they're in Australia, they're in Europe, they're in the Russias and the Almas and the Himalayas and China, and there's so many of them distributed around the world. And I don't know if they're one and the same, but you'd think they'd probably be from the same tree anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The weird part is there's no sightings in Hawaii though. That's kind of strange. Right. There's a lot of woods in Hawaii.
There is, and there's apparently a lot of hogs in Hawaii, like wild pigs and stuff. But I think, since it's so remote and stuff, that maybe that's why it's like they just they never maybe had an opportunity to migrate there, because I don't know how it works, but I always find it really interesting with Bigfoot that, even like the Yowies in Australia, and the Bigfoots here, and the skunk apes, and even in Europe, that even though that they maybe have a common ancestor that, kind of spider-webbed different directions around the world, however they did it, and ended up so distributed, but the behaviors are almost identical. That to me is just so surprising. You would think that there would be so much variation between them, but there really isn't.
Similar. If you look at the Yeti, it's same features, hairy, and they kill sometimes some are reported to kill the yaks. And here in North America, Bigfoot have been known to like take chickens and stuff like that.
chickens, pigs, deer, and pretty much everything and anything. They seem to be like a really successful omnivore. That's for sure. They'll raid gardens or fruit trees or bushes, or they'll eat pretty much whatever they can get their hands on. But I think Don said it best. I think he called it an opportunivore. Like they just eat whatever. So that's fantastic. Now, are you researching any of this stuff? Are you like actively or just more as a hobby?
Like once in a while, if I have time, I'll try to like research and just like see what's going on. Like, has anybody else had sightings in Connecticut? Because in this area, everybody keeps to themselves and we don't really talk about anything like this.
Sure. Yeah.
So I just kind of like do research and see. I keep in touch at times with the Bigfoot research I got in touch with and see if he's had encounters in the forest that not too far from where we live.
Oh,
but he's thinking there's like actually a family living there of Bigfoot in there. So I'm assuming maybe those same Bigfoot are coming onto our property as maybe like a travel source.
Right.
So that's my theory.
Yep. I think that's plenty valid too, because I think whatever these things are, they probably have, I mean, like, I don't know if they truly migrate, but I think they probably just have huge circuits that they travel, and it may be like a grizzly bear, which can be, I guess, 100 miles squared or whatever that they may cover throughout the course of a year. And I think it's probably pretty similar to like a Bigfoot. It's just like they may go in certain areas of a territory based on what's coming into season and, and how the animals are moving. And so they may not be around all of the time in a given area, but they may be coming through at a given time.
Yeah. This researcher told me, like, keep watching because they get more active in the fall and around Christmas season. So I'm kind of alert to what's going on.
How's it going this year?
So far I've not noticed anything other than that when I came home one night, they were heard like screaming in the backyard, but I'm pretty sure it might have been a fox or something. Who knows?
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, fox would be okay, but a big Bigfoot screaming is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. At times I have, like a while back, during the snowstorm when I was cleaning off my car, I came out a little earlier than normal. I guess that must have made it, whatever was in the backyard, upset because it started yelling at me. It almost sounded like human, like that human almost voice, but okay, they're watching. I yelled out for Dad, and he didn't hear anything. I guess he couldn't hear me from outside. And it was completely silent after that. So I was like, okay, I better get in my car and leave. I skedaddled out of there.
Yeah, good for you. I think that's good. Get while the getting's good. And the other part of it is this is something that I consider is that, I mean, in the First Nations, there's a lot of legends of these beings, and some of the legends seem benign, but some of them are horrifying. And how do you know what you're actually dealing with? It could be a very peaceful, benign thing, and maybe you gauge it off of just what you've experienced yourself, but my God, some of the stories from the tribes is just terrifying. I mean, they were like raiding each other, and horrible things would be happening.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard them actually taking children too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's Tom Seawood. He talks about the Zunaqua, and it's legendarily carries like a basket on its back, and it'll grab naughty children and throw it into the basket and disappear. Now,
yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
No, I think that gets used everywhere. Like, I think perhaps the boogeyman was some sort of, maybe some offshoot of one of these things somewhere. And I don't know where the legend of the boogeyman goes, but I find it interesting that they call, in the South, they call them boogers, wood boogers.
Yeah, boogers, yeah, wood boogers.
So, it's like, is that one and the same?
Maybe.
But then you hear yeah, exactly. And then you hear like Tom Seawood talking about the Zunaqua, and yet it's a different name, but it's the same kind of story. It's like, be good, or the boogeyman will come get you, or the Zunaqua. And it's pretty universal story, even to the Krampus legends in Germany and such, Are you familiar with that?
A little bit, not too much.
So essentially it looks like this huge goat man, like a satyr of legend, but it would have like a thorny whip and stuff, and it would come like on December 5th and whip kids that are naughty and then take them away, and it's just a horrible, horrible story, but it's, again, the whole be good or some monster's going to come get you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Terrible stuff, but scarring kids around the world. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
My parents never told me anything like that, but my mom did tell me when I was older that when we were very tiny, we were very small. I think this is when we first moved here. She would hear like weird sounds, like it almost sounded like the Ohio howl. That's what she could describe it as. Oh, wow. Because back when we first moved here, there wasn't as many people. There was a lot more wilderness. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that's what there would have been maybe more Bigfoot, like being braver to come in since there was more woods back then than there are now. There's more people now.
Oh, okay. So the land has changed quite a bit over your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think they're more cautious now. That's probably why we don't notice as much activity as we did.
Do you have any, do people regularly lose pets around there?
I've not heard anything, no.
Okay. Because that does seem to be something that comes up quite often with dogs and cats just being missing. It can be anything from a fox to a raccoon to of course, a Bigfoot even, but I think they do seem to really, generally speaking, don't have a very big fondness for dogs. And apparently
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Apparently coyotes do, is all I was going to add. But anyway, go ahead.
Now that you brought it up, I do remember that our neighbors used to have chickens. Mm-hmm. And around the time we were noticing more of the Bigfoot activity, our dad had noticed a dead chicken at the end of the road. So anything could have gotten it, but
sure,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. You never know. Or maybe he spooked it and it dropped it as it ran off.
Mm-hmm. It's possible, yeah.
Right. It's interesting you should say that because chickens do come up a lot. In fact, in this area, and it's not something I've talked a whole bunch about, but Don and I received a notification from a homeowner in this area that I'm in the north of Idaho. And the homeowner started with, I think, 30 chickens, and slowly they were down to 9. And there was now the interesting part of it was there was no feather litter. Like, when predators grab a chicken, I mean, they kill it. They shake it, they bite it, they do whatever to incapacitate it. They don't want it to be wiggling and flapping. They just want to kill it and then carry it, wherever they're going. But wherever their kill site is, of course, there's a big fluff of feathers where the chicken blew its feathers as it was fighting for its life. Now, there was no such evidence of that around this chicken coop. And it's not like these were free-range chickens. They were kept in a pen. But there was a little hole in one side of the enclosure about the size of an arm could go through. And one by one, there was no chickens, no feather litter, as if an owl, a hawk, a fox, or, something had grabbed it and killed it and then taken it away. And there was no sign of them ever again. It was just like one by one. And so the homeowner kind of went out into the woods behind the property just to look a little bit, and they stumbled on very accidentally this blind. There was a blind that was set up, and it was like a sapling pulled over, and then a bunch of branches from a nearby conifer tree. And I don't know my trees very well, but all these branches were snapped off about 30 feet up, and they were all interwoven into this bent over sapling, like a 6-inch sapling. And it made like a dome structure, and then there was a tree knocked down in front of that with some of those same branches being stacked on that. So it was like it was absolutely brilliantly invisible, but they would just happen to stumble on us like, oh my God, what is this? And it was literally like 100 yards from the chicken coop within eyesight of it. So as if something was going there, kind of waiting, watching for the activity to dive down. And when the sun went down, they would come in and grab a couple chickens to go, like it was, like it was a KFC pull up there or something. But
the drive-through.
Right. Exactly. And, so Donna and I went out there and we checked it out. We checked out the structure. I have photos of it and they're up on my Instagram. But after we checked it out, whatever had built this thing wouldn't touch it anymore. And it quickly fell into disrepair, and they didn't lose any more chickens or anything. It was just done. Like, hey, the gig's up. They know we're here, and nothing ever again after that. But it was, chickens, and it was obvious that they were just being pulled out one by one over a period of time until they're like, where are all our chickens going? So kind of interesting, right?
That is very interesting.
Yeah. So chicken, they must like chicken.
Just wondering where the hole came from. Right,
exactly. Now it was a little bit of a haphazard chicken enclosure, but yeah, this hole appeared and that was, we closed it up as well and tied it off with some twine and got it reclosed. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the chickens were just, hey, let's get out of here,
Yeah.
So pretty cool experience. But I think this is all pretty fascinating. And again, you were up at Phenomecon, and you've gone.
I was, yeah.
2 years. Did you go in? You were in 21 or 22 and 23. Wasn't it in 21 too, or no? Or was it 20?
It was in 21, but I didn't go to that one. I went to 2022, and then this year 23.
Okay. And you're a fan of Skinwalker Ranch?
I am, yes.
Yes, I am too. I think that show is absolutely brilliant. What's your take on what's going on up there, just out of curiosity?
There's probably all kinds of stuff going on up there. Probably spiritual and probably some demonic stuff as well.
Okay.
Some of it's probably not very good, especially when Thomas is getting hurt and other people.
Yeah, that was really scary hearing about that. That was kind of about when I think I started following the show. Maybe during season 3 is when I first started tuning in and checking it out, but I've been just hooked ever since. But what do you think of the UFO stuff that seems to go on around there? Do you think there's some extraterrestrial element to it too?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I do
probably,
too.
Probably interdimensional, I believe.
Sure. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I was just kind of curious because I know that you've been out there and done the tours and stuff when they've offered them, but yeah, I did get a chance to check out the Uinta Basin a little bit this last year, and I got to tell you, I think the whole place is just a hot spring for activity.
Oh yeah, yep. It's not just Skinwalker Ranch; it's that whole area.
Yeah,
including the conference center. Apparently, somebody saw a UFO. Somebody videotaped it.
Yes,
that was above the conference center.
Yeah, apparently during one of the breakout sessions. Yeah, yeah. I think it was somebody from Europe that was there visiting, and
it was her name's Kirby. That was Kirby. Her name.
Okay, yeah. I'd heard about that too while I was there, and I was like, really? They're checking us out. It's just such an incredible area. But did you have an experience there too?
At the yes, actually on the bus. After we got back from the Skinwalker Ranch tour, it was all of us. So we're going back. We're supposed to be going back to the conference center since the tour was over. It was nighttime. Night was falling, and suddenly the bus driver took a wrong turn, and she kept Bryant Dragon was on the our bus, and she kept asking Bryant, is this the right way? Where are we? And at first I thought maybe she's a new bus driver and maybe she doesn't know what's going on, where she was going. So maybe that's why she took the wrong turn. But after a while, we were it felt like the Twilight Zone because we were going for a while, driving for a while. We had to drive through Roosevelt in order to get around where we were back where we were supposed to go. And suddenly, when we were driving, this other car comes pull it beside the bus and kind of waving the bus driver to pull over. And he looked kind of frightened, kind of freaked out. And before that, we heard like what sounded like something big fall off the back of the bus.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know whether that driver saw something or what. He looked freaked out, and he like drove off. He didn't like pull over with us.
Oh.
So the bus driver pulled over, and she got out to see what was going on. Then she came back in. She didn't see anything, so we don't know what that was.
Wow. Yeah. That place is so wired for weirdness. It's just crazy.
That was weird. Yeah.
Well, Miriam, it's been an absolute pleasure. Was there anything else you wanted to cover before we're through here?
Well, the next day, I got to talk with the bus driver, and she looked pretty shook up. I asked her if she was okay, and she said she's fine. She said that she's been doing this for 13 years, and she's never had this happen. So I'm assuming maybe it could be brain fog that she might have had, like when she took the wrong turn, because she's been doing this for a while. She knows the area. Oh, jeez. If she's been doing for 13 years.
Oh my God.
I felt bad for her. She was pretty shook up.
Yeah, I think it can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime. When I talked to Thomas Winters and interviewed him, he told us some stories during that interview, and it was just like, my God, this is such an intelligent phenomena that's going on there. It seems to target individual people in individual ways that are relevant to them. And it's just like, my God, I don't know what to make of it. It's just such a crazy, but, amazing place, you know?
Yeah.
But
it happened to all of us, like a group of us on the bus.
That's amazing. Well, I'm glad you guys all got through it okay, God.
Yeah, we got back safely to the conference center. It was 2 hours later. Wow. But we were supposed to get back like a half hour later. It turned out to be another 25 minutes for us to get back. Yeah.
Oh no. Well, I'm glad you're good, and thank you so much for coming on today and talking to me. It's been awesome to have a chance to sit back and just talk with you. Again, I've been talking to you briefly over 2 years, and I'm really honored that you came on to share your experiences here.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me to come on. So
yeah, anytime. And if any other weirdness comes, just let me know, and we'll have you back again. But Miriam, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, it's my pleasure.
Get out!
Guys, thank you so much for joining us here on tonight's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please feel free to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio, as well as finding us on Twitter. We're on Twitter at Paranormal Portal, PORTL, and we'd love to have you stop by our YouTube page and subscribe and check out our shows there. We got hundreds of shows, Journeys into the Paranormal Portal, so I hope you'll check it out, guys. We're over there at youtube.com/Paranormal Portal, so hope to see you guys soon. We'll be back, of course, for more podcasts in the coming days. So we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can.